To start a blog or website on WordPress.com, you first need to set up an account. Because WordPress.com is a free service, you can set up as many accounts as you like, and you can also host as many WordPress.com sites under one account as you like. I suggest you create one core account and that you use it for all your sites. The front page of WordPress.com changes constantly, so chances are what you see on my screen may not match what you have on your screen exactly. It also depends on the browser history on your computer. If this is the first time you ever visit WordPress.com, you may see something like this. But if your computer has been used to visit WordPress.com previously, the landing page might look very different, something like this. It doesn't really matter what the page looks like though. It'll always have two key features: a sign in button for existing users, and also a button to sign up and create a new WordPress.com blog. And that's what we're going to click on. Getting started with WordPress.com is easy. All you have to do is fill out this form and everything will be set up for you. You start with your email address, and once WordPress.com checks that you don't already have an account with this email address, you can fill in the rest of the form. Next, you need to set up a username. And this is getting a bit challenging because there's so many people who have accounts with WordPress.com that most common usernames are already taken. For example, I can't simply say Morten because there's already someone with that name. So instead I have to come up with something else. So I'll say just Morten. So here you have to be creative. With the username set, I need to set a password. Of course, you need to set a really strong password here, and if you're so inclined, you can get WordPress.com to generate a strong password for you. The problem is, the passwords that WordPress.com generates are very strong and kind of hard to remember. So my advice to you is to just create a really strong password that you can actually remember. Something with some symbols in it, maybe some numbers, and upper and lowercase letters. So I'm going to click hide here so you can't see my password, and then I'll put in a strong password. WordPress.com runs through your password and makes sure that it's strong enough, and if it is, it'll say your password can be saved and you can move on. Scrolling down, you are now ready to set your blog address. This will become the URL for your site, so the address you would put into your address bar when you want to visit the site. By default, it'll be something.wordpress.com. And you can also use this dropdown here to upgrade by buying other types of domains. So instead of .wordpress.com, you can get just .co, .me, .com, .net, and .org. These are optional upgrades. You can do them now or you can do them later. And they all depend on whether or not your particular URL is available. For example, I can go and put in just morton.wordpress.com and see if it's available. It is. And WordPress.com also tells me that justmorton.co is also available. And now I can use this upgrade to buy it for $25 a year, or I can click no thanks, I'll use the free address. I'll do so because I know that if I want that domain name later, I can just buy it later. I don't have to do any of this now. So for now, I'll leave it at justmorton.wordpress.com. Speaking of upgrades, when you set up your account, you're also offered the option to upgrade to WordPress.com Premium. This is a way of getting all the upgrades from WordPress.com for a discounted price. As you can see, the free option in WordPress.com gives you a free blog, but nothing else. The premium upgrade also gives you a domain name and domain mapping. So for example, that justmorton.co. You also get 10 gigabytes of space instead of the package 3. You get no ads on your site because WordPress.com sites that are free have ads on them. You get the custom design option we'll talk about later in the course. And finally, you get the video press upgrade that allows you to upload videos into WordPress.com itself, just like you would with YouTube. If you buy the premium package, you get it for $99 instead of $166 per year. So that's a saving of 41%. If you think that's a good deal and you know that you're going to be using WordPress.com for something professional, this might be a good idea, but it's not something you have to do right now. If you're unsure and you want to test out WordPress.com first, or if like me, you just want to set up a simple blog, you can also choose the free option. But before you click either upgrade or create blog, it's important that you click on fascinating terms of service. I'll open this in a separate tab and we'll take a look. Now I know what you're going to say. You see these terms of service pages all the time and you don't really read them. And that's what most people do. But it's not a good idea because when you set up a site with WordPress.com, what you're doing is giving them all of your content, your images, all your ideas, your texts and pictures and so on. And it's important to know what they're going to do with that content. So reading the terms of service before you sign up is actually really important, and I urge you to do it. Once you've read the terms of service and you're satisfied with your setup, you can now click either upgrade or create blog. So I'm going to click create blog. WordPress.com will now set everything up for me and send me an email at the email address I provided so I can activate my account. Once that email arrives, I can open it. And here all I have to do is click activate blog. And I'm taken to a page on WordPress.com where I can set up my blog. So from here, I can now edit my blog title. This is not the URL for the blog, but rather the title that's going to display on the top of the blog. So this can be changed now or it can be changed later. So I'll just leave that at just Morten. Then I can add a tagline, and this tagline will by default be the greatest WordPress.com site in all the land, but I'm going to change that to musings from a confused man. And again, this can be changed at any time. And then I have to pick whatever language I'm going to be writing in. I'm going to write in English, but you can use this dropdown to find pretty much any language you want and select that language. And it's important that you do so because your blog will be indexed based on the language you pick. So if you're going to write in Norwegian, you need to set Norwegian as the language. Once this is all set, and keeping in mind you can change it later, click on Next Step, and here you get to choose a theme. Now, the theme is what defines what your site looks like, and you can change your theme later to make your site look like something completely different. WordPress.com comes with a set of free themes that you can install, and you can also buy premium themes like this one that costs different amounts of money depending on how fancy that theme is. If you don't like the themes you get offered immediately, you can click Show More Themes, and it'll keep showing you more themes until you find something you really like. I'm going to make this simple and choose the first theme that's made available to me, this 2011 theme, because as you'll see later in the course, when it comes time to decide what your site looks like, we can go back and change the theme to whatever we want. So I'm simply going to leave 2011 selected and click Next Step. If you want to change to a different theme, you can do so. It makes no difference. Now that I've picked a theme, I can customize it if I want to by clicking the Customize It button, but I'm not going to do that just yet. We'll cover that later in the course as well, so I'm simply going to click Next Step to move on. And finally, I get to share my blog posts with family, friends, and followers. By connecting my blog to Twitter and Facebook, when I create new blog posts, they'll automatically get pushed out to these social networks. I'm going to leave this alone for now, and later in the course, I'll show you how you can hook this in so that you automatically spread the word once you publish something on your blog. So I'm going to click on Next Step. And finally, I get to create my first blog post. I'm not going to do that either because creating new content comes later in the course. So I'm simply going to click Finish. And here, finally, I land on the WordPress.com front-end dashboard.